Alright, so we're gonna attempt to catch the dogs that are coming and going. Hopefully short stop them before they get back to the flock. We moved the flock to the opposite side of the farm, but the dogs are still hanging around. So we're gonna bait a trap, a cage trap. It's a live trap, to try to capture the dogs and turn them over to animal control. You know, they're coming and going under the fence here. There's tracks going both directions, dog tracks going both directions. They dug a little bit. And so it doesn't take very big space. Not gonna lay a bunch of scent. I mean, dogs are easier to catch than wildlife, but like, you know, it's half a hard hat high sort of a thing. It's not much. Dogs can get in pretty small spaces. Like you can see with our dog feeders, our 100-pound dogs get in a pretty small space. But we don't want to set it necessarily right on the hole. You know, you travel pathways. We kind of have this swale coming in here and the fence line itself. You can set it right on the spot they're using, but that's sort of like a red flag that like what's wrong here, it looks different. So if they're coming up this way, they won't see the trap until they get right here. They'll smell the dog food before they see the trap. This way, it's not so much, but if the more have it here in case they're going in somewhere else and they come out this way, then they'll be going right toward the smell. So we just lift the back door. Just not our trap. We put the food in there. Bend the lid up so we get a little bit of smell, but don't waste all the food. And you put it there so they can't lift the door back up. And this has a little foot treadle, a pedal, just like the sewing machine type thing. We lift up these rings. They'll be fat when you do it. Lift the door. Let me get past the mechanism here. And then, so like if you're trapping coyotes or foxes or something, you would wear gloves. Dogs aren't scared of people as much. So you want to set this little trigger here, which sets the door, and you can change, like if it's a really big dog, you can go a lot tighter. Well, we don't think these dogs are that big, so we're going to set it a little more sensitive down here at the bottom, because you run the risk of the dog not being heavy enough, it won't trip the trap. It'll just eat your dog food, eat your bait. So yeah, so we'll just have it here. And in an ideal world, you know, this trap was loaned to us. You'd ground stake it. Being an electrical generating facility, we'd have to do some other things about ground penetration and with conductive materials, but hopefully they won't roll it over to the point that these rings will make it all the way back up. And yeah, so if I had a stick or something, but like you come in here, dogs like, ooh, food, and they step on that, and the door shuts. So maybe set it a little lighter than that.
Yeah, so we went to the local animal control. We signed this out. We have it for the month.
Because we're trying to catch at least 2 dogs.
And we're working with them, so they're well aware of the situation. We filed an incident report with them, so they know what's going on. Trap gets checked daily. They're in the loop. They're helping us check the trap as well. And they're in the process of writing a report for their side. And they know that we'll be on the site and everything that's going on. So we've gone through all the appropriate channels to make sure that this is all done the right way. Right now, the trap is set outside the fence for a couple of reasons. One is so that the animal control officer can also check it. 2 is if we have to move it closer to where our animals are on the other side of the farm, we're going to keep setting outside so that we don't trap any of our own animals. We want to trap animals that aren't ours. We don't try to get our guardian dogs or our sheep just who are inquisitive, what's going on with this, whatever. So we're trapping outside the fence and trying to take the steps appropriate for just getting rid of this problem.
Yeah, you can see the tracks pretty clear coming in and out on the fence right here, but there's multiple places where they've been coming in.
Yeah, we found 3 spots where they've come and gone. So we're marking them, and we're working with the company that owns to start fixing these gaps. Some of it just happens over time, so we're just all aware and working together on the problem.
This is the freshest sign that we've seen. So that's why you set on it's kind of like the hot hand, like you want to be on the hot trail, right? So you set it where there's fresher sign.
Yeah. We moved the girls Friday, and today's Monday, so the sheep haven't been in here since Friday afternoon.
The dogs are still coming in.
But the dogs are still hot on it, so hopefully they haven't figured out the other side yet. We haven't seen any sign of them over there yet, so.
Yeah, they know this place is fun, so they're gonna come check it out.
Yep. So that's how we're starting the morning. We're just gonna set this and then get rolling with all the other stuff we've got to do. So as you saw, we started up on the other side, setting the trap. Now we're on the side where the sheep are, so the opposite side of that farm. And just came to check the water, which looks pretty good. So that's good news. They're going through water a little faster than usual because of the lactation. So we're definitely aware of that now. All right, so the sheep got a little spread out because we're lambing at this site. So we're doing a gather, and Marcus is on that side. I just passed him, and I'm gonna go up to this corner over here and get the flock and see if anybody else is missing from that group. So we're just gonna kind of try to go through the points on this one. It's not a perfect square, so that's why it makes it a little bit different, but I think we've got most of them gathered already, so we should be okay. I'm just doing the follow-up just to make sure before, because as you know, if you leave one behind, it's a nightmare. Two is pretty bad. If you leave four, you can usually drive them. But I prefer not to. So he's just saying like they want to follow the truck right now. And they did this to me and Blaze on Saturday, but then they kind of stopped and started splitting. So hopefully together Marcus and I can get them to move, because it's time for them to get moving. So I got out to run a mama and a new baby born today towards the rest of the flock.
Straggler lambs.
And when we're lambing, it's just what we're gonna have to do. So you get those mamas that don't want to get with the group yet. So it does take a couple sweeps, a couple people, a couple dogs, a couple different things. And certainly doesn't help when you're sick. So I spent yesterday in bed all day. Got some weird cough thing. I don't know, lots of mucus, cough. It just knocked me out. Been battling it for a little while, but finally it got the better of me. So now I'm all huff and puff because still getting over all that, but it's not bad. It's good to get out, get some fresh air, get moving. What I'm gonna do now is get the truck again and comb this other side over here. I think if you were to look at the paddock on a map, it looks like a little monster with arms and legs. So what we're sweeping right now are those dog leg parts that the sheep can kind of stay in without necessarily knowing that the rest of the flock is moving. So when it's not like an easy square or rectangle or something like that, we get these situations. Not bad, it's just different. And then of course pair that with lambing and you're gonna get more spread out. We've noticed that you'll get an area where it's like a nursery where the lambs hang out together, and you'll get an area where it's like labor and delivery. They like to lay them in a certain area. Everywhere is a little bit different, which is pretty funny. So we start to kind of map those out and we go, okay, this is a labor and delivery area, so we'll know to look for lambing mamas, which I knew was in this area. And the nursery is usually not too far from where they're eating, so it's not like it's a big deal. But... So my least favorite part, I got these new babies and mamas. Most of the flock is already down, and in that next paddock, oh, you can't see it, but anyway, down there. So now we gotta collect up these new mamas and babies and get them down there as well. But get a majority of the flock moved, and then we can usually get these moved. We just gotta go at a much slower pace. Come on, mamas. Let's get to new pasture. Let's get to new ground. Come on. Here comes Trip. Here comes Trip. Now she's brand new, mama, so she's gonna be a little more defensive. Lie down. Trip, lie down. Lie down. Yeah. Fun?
Yeah.
60 pounds each.
They gotta get farther away.
Like, they think it's something new. Like they haven't had this for 3 weeks. Weirdos. And they're gonna smell and they're gonna go, oh, we already knew about this.
This couldn't possibly be the mineral that was just in our paddock.
No, this has to be fresh. They couldn't just be putting this out now. It's the same stuff. We just moved it down the road for you. Just moved it down the road for you.
Huh?
I don't think so. My walkie. Old news. They came up, they sniffed it, they're like, oh, we already knew this was here, and then left. Just for when you need it.
Well, you get a mouthful of that stuff, since you gotta chew on it.
Yeah. I like this because of the protein. Just because the proteins. Look at all these babies. Looking good, ladies.
Like tags, easy to get crosses.
Morning, everybody. Beautiful sunny day. Lots of nice sunshine. It's a little bit chilly, but I thought I'd start before we get on the road talking about some of the stuff that we bring with us on the daily, or try to remember to bring with us on the daily. Depends on if we remember to move it from vehicle to vehicle. Anyway, I've got my sheep med kit. We work really closely with our vet, but we keep the med kit there for any off chances of things. So we've worked really close with Dr. Hannah for the past 3 years, and any opportunity we get to learn something new from her that will allow us to do our job better. So obviously during lambing season, we revisit like tubing and preg tox and those kind of things, right? So we make sure that we have all of the medications and tools that we need for preg tox and those kind of things. We also make sure that we have the gloves and stuff. And as you see in one of the other videos that day, I took a different truck, forgot to move my med kit over. We have medications that we can administer. So we also have the syringes and the needles, the general medications. We also carry like vitamin B and that kind of stuff, just to help with anything that we might find that we can treat on the site. Now, usually what happens is we'll treat on site with what we can right then and there, and then we'll bring them home. So the home farm has almost become like our med kit, our hospital stay, whatever you want to call it, until the animals are better to go back out, and that's what happens there. So this is my med kit. I just converted an old toolbox into our kit. So we've got my needles up top, and then I've got my dosing gun stuff. I've got the Alu Shield. I've got my marking, all the different kinds of things that we've talked about. I've got also, it's really important to keep hydration stuff in case it's a hydration issue. Our gloves are longer gloves for lambing, for if we have to help pull lambs. I've got my tagger in here. I try to revisit and restock and look at this every couple months, and we talk with Dr. Hannah about it. So I've got worming stuff just in case that does become a problem, but it typically isn't a problem. We rarely have to deworm our animals because of our rotational grazing. But this is just my med kit, kind of keeps everything together. Some stuff moves in and out, seasonality depending. But that's what travels with us. So, and I'll get you the next thing that we bring. All right, the next big thing is the lamb bag, marked so as lamb bag, top and bottom, so the kids don't steal my bag. Now, the reason lamb bag is separate from med kit is because what I was doing is sometimes I was like, oh, I need this for lambing, I don't need this right now in the med kit, and I was taking things out of that, and it just became like hard to remember what didn't get in, what went out, it was just a bit of a mess. So I was like, okay, let's just separate the two, right? Because this I only need during lambing season, and this I kind of need all the time. And I don't want to be selective of like, oh, I don't think I need this, and then inevitably you needed whatever you took out of that. So separated them lamb bag, easy to throw over your shoulder, easy to have around, great for the situations where things happen, and, life happens. So inside, what do we've got? We've got gloves. Never hurts having gloves in case we run into an incident or anything like that. It's good to have the gloves around. Thermos that keeps, so gets filled in the morning, holds like 48 ounces, not that I need that much, but holds hot water for like 48 hours too, which is pretty nice. So it gets filled, hot water. Bottle, obviously, for the water to go into. Colostrum replacement, so instead of just regular milk, I have the colostrum because that can go to either a newborn or a couple-day-old one. It'll still be fine. It'll give it its nutrients. We're dipping umbilical cords of abandoned babies and ones that we're taking home as bottle babies. We don't do it in the field with all the lambs. We just do it with ones that we have to take and take care of. And then I've also got a little bit of in both a syringe form and then a bottle over here, but it's just a bit a nutritional drench, basically, just to help give them a boost. And the reason we started adding that to the kit was because last year we started lambing on pasture that wasn't on solar yet, so we didn't have the contract yet. We started lambing, and then we hit this perfect trifecta in March. We had this really terrible, probably week of weather where it was raining, it was cold, and it was windy. So we had all three, and it hit into lambing, and we were finding lambs that were, suffering from that, and they really needed a boost. So we were drying them off, and we were doing all this kind of stuff, and I was like, I didn't have that. The other reason that I like the lamb bag is because even though we're close to home with our sites, some of these because we're finding them, who knows how long sometimes they've been abandoned or left, right? So it could be because you check the site, you walk the site, you work the site, all that kind of stuff that you're doing. It could be 2 hours before you get them home. It could be 3 hours before you get them home. And time is not on your side when it comes to these lambs needing this nutrition. So that was kind of the other reason that I kicked my own butt and got into gear with, like, this is what I want to start having if we're going to save the lambs. One of the things I did this year a little bit differently is we work really closely with Dr. Hannah, helps us stock the med kit, helps us make sure we have everything that we need on the daily, right, for being able to handle things. But we went through the lambing and we went through health and things like that. Okay, sorry, I had a coughing fit there. Still getting over whatever this is. But anyway, so we work really close with Hannah, and she's been fantastic. She teaches me a lot of amazing things. We've learned how to tube and feed and help with lambs in that way. But one of the debates that's out there, and we talked about it before, is how much work do you give into bottle babies? Because a lot of times nature knows better than we do, and we're fighting that, right? Because we want these new life, we want this to survive, we want this to do well. And I haven't had the best of luck with that. In all honesty, I would say in any of the lambs in the past 3.5 years, maybe 4, that I've had to tube to try to get going, my success of rate of getting them to weaning and being well is not very good. I can count like 2 that have made it when I tubed them and did all that. And I know that I did it right. I went through all of the nuances on how to do it, and I felt very confident with it, and Dr. Hannah put me through it, and she felt I was confident in doing it right. And I just think lately we've just been like, if I have to tube them, I just don't know that that's going to work. Now this year, knock on wood, I haven't been in that situation. I haven't found anybody that needed tubing. So it hasn't been an issue, but I don't really keep that tubing equipment around anymore just because those end up needing a lot of extra work and a lot of extra care and a lot of extra time for no guarantee that you're going to be able to make that animal survive. And while you're working on that one, could you be helping somewhere else? Could you be doing something else more valuable? Now, then the other argument, people are like, well, then if you got more staff, it's like, oh my goodness, yeah, you could dive into that, and you could be like, okay, Susie Q, your job now is only to deal with the bottle babies and tubing them, but that's a heavy weight to put on somebody, because what if that animal still doesn't make it? Then they feel like that they were the problem for it. So
I don't think staff is an issue. I just think it's, sometimes you just have to recognize to not fight the nature on that animal. And we're on a commercial scale. That's the other hard thing for people to understand is when you're working with, by the end of lambing season this year, we should be well over 1,000 ewes. And that's with our culling and with everything. We should be going into the summertime with about 1,000 ewes. Doesn't count our rams that we're growing out or anything like that. That's just ewes. And when you're dealing with that many, you kind of have to make those decisions. I've heard it referenced to in the medical field when people are like, it's like a trauma thing. You've got to divide them and you've got to decide levels of who needs the most and who needs the least and handle it in that sense, right? Like a triage situation. And I think it's the same when you're dealing with a commercial flock, because if you're constantly babying that one, if you're constantly taking care of that one, that's not going to go away. That becomes a chronic thing. And that's the other hard corner for people to turn when you're dealing with a commercial flock. If you're going from a backyard system or a pasture system, maybe if you even have a couple hundred animals, right? Going from that to a larger scale, a lot of people have trouble with the culling aspect of it. A lot of people have trouble with making those decisions on understanding that if you're taking care of her consistently in this manner, it's a chronic thing and it's costing you more money than what you're getting from taking care of her. And that's been one of the driving factors for us. We took the hard hits early. We've culled very, very hard earlier on in hopes of the long run there being that reward, right? Because if you've got this chronic and she's breeding, she could potentially be passing that issue on to her offspring. So they might look great and amazing early on, but then they're going to start having that problem, and they're going to start having that problem, and they're going to keep passing that problem. So you're always going to be dealing with whatever this problem is. So those decisions are a little bit more difficult, right? You don't have necessarily the time. Again, you're dealing with 1,000 head or more. You don't have the time to constantly be dealing with 1 or 2 or 3. So that's the other reason those big flock workups are worth it. So in our big flock workups, you'll start to see videos of those. We're going to start doing those relatively soon. And right up front, what we're doing is we're tagging the ewe lambs and the ram lambs. We're tagging lambs, We're doing CDT for them as well. We're running mothers through just to make sure that they're doing okay. So nothing really big on them. There's no real big decisions made on the ewes during the big flock workups. They're really, right now, the ones that are coming, it's really for lambs. But the easiest way is to gather the whole flock, run the lambs, and then let everybody loose, right? So that's what we'll start to be doing. Then come probably late summer, maybe July, August, we'll start running the mamas through again. And what we'll be doing then is we'll really be looking at the mamas coming into fall and saying, okay, breeding soundness exam, let's look at her age, let's look at her capacity to mother, because we'll have been keeping notes about it, their mothering skills as well during lambing season, but we'll check her bag to make sure, is it good, is it not good, will she be able to produce enough milk for lambs, those kind of things. So we're looking at that aspect of things. And then we're also looking at, okay, how much care did she have over the last year? And is this a chronic patient? Is this somebody that we're going to have to keep dealing with every winter going, oof, I hope she makes it, or ooh, that this storm coming could take her out, or whatever it is. So we'll go through and make those decisions. And then come fall, we'll get that culled group out. And then we'll go through winter and the cycle kind of runs itself. The other thing that happens in the fall is all of our booster vaccinations, right, will happen as well, and so we'll go through that. But we typically run the flock through in those big groups just for checks and things twice a year, and that doesn't include running the lambs through. The reason that we don't grab and tag lambs right away, a lot of people ask this question, they're like, why aren't you tagging lambs right away? We've seen in these barn systems, these other people are doing it, why aren't you doing it? And the reason is simple. I don't like to count my lambs until weaning. Yes, there is value in looking at how many are born and then how many make it to weaning. Yeah, that's pretty interesting data. But You're also doing it on a larger landscape, so you're also including wildlife. So you have losses to wildlife and predators. You have losses to natural like weather phenomenon and things like that. And it's not necessarily trackable. If you're in a barn system, it's a little bit more trackable, but with the pasture, it's just not. And so why would I want that disappointment of, oh, we had this many, but we lost this many, and this many we never even found, right? It's just not worth it to me. What's worth it to me is the ones that make it to weaning, the ones that are going to make it. That's where I want to tag them. That's where I want to vaccinate them. That's when I want to get them rotating and being a part of the system. So that's why we tag them at weaning. We're going to tag them. We're going to CDT them. We're going to check them. We're going to make sure that they're good. We'll start pulling rams, and we'll start running ram groups by themselves. We'll start running a group of ones that we think we want to keep back for breeding, and where they're from, we'll keep a group for the meat market and where they're destined for. And that's how we'll just run it. And the ram groups will run, well, the meat market group won't run year round. The next question that we get a lot from that is, why aren't we just running a bunch of wethers? Why not just wether the rams that you're not going to keep and just run them because they'll eat your grasses? Yeah, I mean, I guess it's somebody's idea of a system. It's just not mine. We do better at the local market if we keep the rams intact. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that we have not had a ton of we have not just had it's kind of hard to really talk about it, other than the fact that, like, I guess the system that I'm looking for is a system that reproduces itself, and a system that will bring back into itself, because every year you need to make sure that you're bringing in what will likely get called out, right? So we call them the replacements, right? A mama that singles is still good because she's at least replaced herself. A mama that twins is great because it's a replace for yourself and it's a bonus, right? And you do that over the years, your flock grows, you get natural increase. Fantastic. Then you're able to do those culls that you need to be doing without holding too much back. Also good for your overall flock health. But if you start running groups of just wethers, sooner or later, they don't serve that purpose for you anymore. So is it that you only run the wethers during your grazing season and then try to sell them off, once you hit that late fall season going into winter? It's an opportunity, but if everybody does that, then your market values aren't that great. I heard stories from this year about people who tried to hold out for the ethnic markets for Ramadan, and they didn't get the prices they thought they were going to get because almost everybody did that. So what we did is we gave control to the buyers to set the price, which is what we're trying to prevent with all of this, right? We're trying to have farmers who are farming sheep, who are shepherds, right, and stewards of the land. We're trying to get them to have the power and the control. But if we all wait for certain market and certain time of year and everybody sells at X, then that makes it a little bit more difficult. Until until we can get the processing centers in the United States and get people eating U.S. lamb. If we can get more people eating U.S. lamb, then we don't have that problem anymore, because we can sell every one that goes to market at a decent price and still have to import as much as we are because of the population that we have in the United States. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. We import a third of the lamb that's eaten in the United States. If we could get more people eating U.S. lamb, then we can get the demand higher for U.S. lamb, and then everybody wins, right? And there is no worry about a flood of a market. So you've got to balance those out. So anyway, back to the initial thing. Why aren't we running just flocks of wethers? Quite frankly, they just don't serve a purpose for me. They would be eating and eating and eating, but not reproducing. So would they be a number? Yes, but they're not going to give me anything else at the end of that. So they'll be an eater, okay, and I am being paid to manage vegetation, yes, but if I put that effort into him, and I'm vaccinating him, and I'm keeping him healthy, and I'm giving him all these other things, it's a one-way train. It's an input system without getting an output. And that's the way that I look at that right now. Now, maybe a couple years you talk to me and I'm standing at a 3,000-4,000 sheep or something, something like that. And I'm doing really well. And I could go, oh yeah, I can run groups of wethers because it doesn't matter. Maybe. But right now, I've gotta really be aware of what my inputs are giving me and what my output is, and what I'm getting in return. And I just don't see the value in running wethers right now. It just doesn't add up for me personally right now. So that's kind of where we're at and why we don't do that. And a lot of people have asked us about that too. So, yeah, that's enough rambling for this morning. We've got work to get done. So today we're going to head to one of the sites and set up the catch pen for tomorrow, because we got to trailer them and move them. We've got to check the dog trap, and maybe hope that we got the dog and nothing else. And of course the flock that's at that site. And then we've got to check the other site that we just moved yesterday too. And we're supposed to also go pick up 2 more of our dog feeders as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's supposed to happen today. I'm really excited about it, but it does end for a busy day. And then on top of that, personally wise, I think we have some after school stuff for our kids that have to be at some presentations and some other things. So it's a little bit of a busy day for us. It's a lot of running and going around. And right now, while I've been working on this, Marcus has been taking care of the cows. So we're in calving season, because we just don't know how to not do everything at once. And so Marcus is up, taking care of the cows in the upper field right now. Other things that have to be done on this never-ending story right now is we have to build another lamb lot at the house. So one of the things that we've also been investing in at the house in the top field is paddocks for sheep, because when you're on solar, it's really hard to sell people sheep or section out sheep for certain reasons. And so what we've been working with, whatever system we've had at the house, but we're like, no, this doesn't work anymore. So we built 2 of the paddocks. We have to build the 3rd paddock. And the goal with the 3rd paddock is we're also going to build within it a budding box, and then a chute system to be able to load and unload a little bit better, because what we have right now, again, it works, but it's not the most laid out best system. And the goal with this long term for us is to be able to sell rams, live ram sales, to be able to section out flock if we want to help people start starter flocks, animal husbandry days, things like that. So we're trying to get that system in order, because we're really believers in growing everything as much as we can and promoting the trade. So if we can have the setup here to do it at our own farm, that would be helpful, as well as, there are some people who are able to go onto the solar, so we can do some of that stuff on solar. It just depends on what we're trying to do. But yeah, always a lot going on. So stay tuned. Hey everybody. We just pulled up to the first site, and it's the site that we set the dog traps on. So dog trap one. So Marcus just got out to go survey that to see if we need to, see if we caught anything, one. And I'm waiting at the gate, because if we did, I have to come out and around. But see if we caught anything, see if we need to rebait it, set it, anything like that. I honestly don't know where I feel. I obviously want to catch the dogs that have caused us so much damage, but I also don't want to deal with it. It's like I want the problem solved, but it takes a lot of work on our side as well, which is just the frustrating part of it, because of the way we have to work and get this stuff together. So we'll see. He's coming up now, so let me see what he has to say. So nothing in the trap, no sign of anything taking the trap. So step back and make sure it's in a good spot again, and see if we get something again tomorrow. But yeah, that's kind of what that is. Now we're just checking the sheep on this side, so opposite side of the farm from where the attacks were. They're looking pretty good. Lambs are looking pretty good. Yeah, everything's going well on this site today. So.